As far as I'm informed, you call yourself digital nomad. Could you explain what that means for you?
For me, it means that I work with just me and my laptop, and then me and my laptop can be anywhere in the world. So I like that I can have the freedom to move wherever I want, whenever I want, and it's actually a lot harder than it sounds. But yeah, so every few months I kind of find a new place to stay.
Then I wonder how cryptocurrency might make our life easier for digital nomads.
Well, it means that I don't need to earn based on, so currency isn't an issue. So it doesn't matter where I am earning the same currency.
There has been recently news that North Korea is developing its own digital currency, its own actually Bitcoin. What are your thoughts regarding this idea?
Well, it should be interesting. I mean, we've seen from perhaps the petro in Venezuela that...
Will it fail like Petrocoin?
I don't know. I also don't have enough information, but we can see that when digital currencies are used so far used and developed by nations and central governments, I haven't heard about many success stories, so we'll have to see about that.
What are your thoughts about Libra? How much successful it would be?
I think it will be very slow. I mean, as we see, there's already been kind of waves of success and failure already, and it hasn't even started. So I think it will take a while before we really see it put into action, since all the bureaucratic issues will get that. That's the problem of being a central corporation. But then I think it can have the potential of being an adversary kind of implementation on having such a strong corporation, such a powerful corporation also have finance involved. I think it can potentially be dangerous for users.
Are people already ready to appreciate and tolerate such new innovations like Bitcoin, or we might see kind of resistance against new technologies and from citizens and governments both?
I think both will happen. So there are those who are willing already to adapt into new technologies. Perhaps they see the freedom that is possible with it, while others will be more conservative and take more time perhaps to realize if they need it at all. I think the important point is to have the alternative available for people who seek it, and I don't believe that Bitcoin mass adoption is the most important aspect. I think that it's important in a way that those who need it can find it.
When it comes to mass adoption, how do you think, what is the biggest obstacle for Bitcoin for being more widely adopted?
On one hand, there's the whole user experience, which might be difficult for people to adapt to. And on the other hand is, I think, so including the user experience is just the lack of ways to use it. So it's either selling or trading, so it becomes a bit more complicated to just use cryptocurrencies, or Bitcoin specifically, even harder to use it on a daily basis. It doesn't meet the requirements that people need on a daily basis in terms of money. And on the other hand, there's the illegality of it in some countries, or the difficulty of doing, paying taxes and so on. So this makes it all very difficult in a governmental and bureaucratic way.
Recent research actually says that we already have sort of elite in cryptocurrency, in crypto industry, and earlier adopters or holders accumulate a huge amount of money in a few hands. Don't you think that we already have the same situation in traditional financial system, and could be this situation prevents Bitcoin from its mass adoption?
So the Bitcoin whales, so on and so forth, are, it's too bad that because it's such a decentralized. So, I think it shows that human nature has a way of behavior or of carrying out certain things, and these things are inevitable even if you have a fully decentralized system. Some kind of elite will always form. So I think it's a shame that this has to manipulate the market and the potential so much. But on the other hand, it's inevitable. And yeah, we definitely see, I think there will be financial elites anywhere where there is a certain amount of freedom. Because on the other hand, we don't want a fully communist dictatorship that will make sure that everything is completely equally distributed. Because, we've seen that hasn't worked out very well in the past either. So.
And yeah, probably the last question: what is the most interesting part for you about Bitcoin? What attracts you the most?
I think to see the different spectrum of people that it attracts and for different reasons. For example, here we see, I think, the most original crypto-anarchist cyberpunk approach to cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin. While there's, on the other spectrum, there's a very corporate side of it. So I find the different political movements, philosophical movements, social movements attached to this very innovative new currency. I find that very fascinating.
But Bitcoin was born from the efforts of cyberpunks, and now it becomes like a store of value. Is it a problem, or we just see that people come to appreciate Bitcoin from different roads?
Yes, I think it's inevitable that there will be different approaches, and I do hope that some of the cyberpunk ideals can, penetrate through time and also be accessible to people to realize that there's perhaps more to Bitcoin than just store value.
There is also a stereotype that women are less knowledgeable when it comes to technological skills. According to you, if there were more women among developers, how might Bitcoin benefit from that?
I think that's a very important question. I think to have women involved is very important in the development, because we're really in the midst of creating the future in a way. So I think it's very important to have all sides represented in that, and not just have the dominant male, white male kind of perspective on everything, but also have the different perspectives and have the different influences.
Do you personally feel that cryptocurrency industry is like male dominated?
Yes, of course.
In which way could you provide some examples?
Well, I mean, you can look around conferences and you'll see usually most often women are a minority. Also as speakers or on stages, also in the crowd, in the audience. But I think it's also becoming, since the time that I entered into this whole niche, I have seen
some changes
and more women involved and more women speaking out and participating.
How can we encourage more women to become familiar with decentralized technologies?
I know there's a lot of women in blockchain events. I see them quite often, so kind of women-oriented events. But I think it's just important to make an inclusive space that everyone feels welcome. And make sure that there's at least some representation of women in events to show an example that it is completely possible.
Inbar, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.